What happens when housing laws, designed to protect tenants, face a direct challenge from landlords claiming they breach constitutional rights? In Philadelphia, this battle has erupted into a heated courtroom drama. Two landlords are taking on the city, arguing that critical housing legislation violates their legal rights. As these property owners and city officials clash, the stakes couldn't be higher. It's a case that could reshape housing policies nationwide. Welcome to Court Decoded. Today, journey into the heart of a constitutional clash over Philadelphia's housing laws. Two landlords argue these laws violate their rights, igniting a legal battle with implications for renters, property owners, and legislative bodies. This gripping case sets the stage for intense legal debate and significant ramifications for future housing policy. In Philadelphia, a city known for its rich history and vibrant culture, the housing market has become a focal point in a fierce legal showdown. At the center of this conflict is a piece of legislation intended to safeguard tenants' rights during precarious economic times. Enacted amid growing concerns of housing insecurity, the law requires landlords to meet stricter conditions before evicting tenants. Philadelphia's City Council drafted these regulations as part of a broader initiative to address escalating rental costs and protect vulnerable citizens from arbitrary evictions. But not all property owners agree with these restrictions. The legislation mandates landlords to provide advance notice, justify evictions under specific conditions, and accommodate tenants facing hardships, such as job loss or illness. For many renters, these protections provide much-needed security against homelessness. However, landlords argue that these stipulations infringe upon their property rights, essentially, their ability to manage their investments and ensure financial stability. They contend that the legislation unfairly burdens them with increased costs and legal hurdles, undermining their autonomy. This disagreement sets the stage for a tense legal confrontation, pitting tenant protection against property rights. As the debate unfolds, fundamental questions arise about the balance between individual rights and community welfare. The landlords, plaintiffs in this intriguing legal challenge, are no strangers to the pressures of property management in a bustling city like Philadelphia. They operate within a market driven by dynamic economic forces and shifting regulatory landscapes. Fundamental to their argument is the assertion that the housing legislation infringes upon their constitutional rights. They claim that these laws effectively seize control over their properties without due process, violating the Fifth Amendment, which prohibits the taking of private property for public use without just compensation. Furthermore, they argue these laws unduly restrict their contractual freedoms. The legislation's cumbersome requirements make it difficult for landlords to take timely action against tenants who fail to honor rental agreements. This perceived loss of control raises serious financial and operational concerns. The economic implications are broad, with landlords asserting that impediments to evictions could lead to significant financial losses, property devaluation, and an inability to attract investment. With this legal battle, they aim to set a precedent that asserts stronger protections for property owners against what they view as overreaching government intervention. In this high-stakes case, the landlords stand steadfast, prepared to argue that their rights to manage and profit from their properties outweigh public housing policy demands. Representing the city, legal experts and advocates present a robust defense of the housing legislation, emphasizing its purpose and societal benefits. In their view, the law is a timely response to pressing housing challenges exacerbated by economic instability and the pandemic. The city's defense underscores the necessity of tenant protections, arguing they're integral to preventing a potential surge in evictions. Central to their case is the broader interpretation of the city's police powers under the 10th Amendment. This amendment grants states considerable authority to enact regulations that promote public health, safety, and welfare. Philadelphia argues that housing stability is a crucial component of these obligations. The defense further asserts that the legislation serves a compelling governmental interest, providing an essential safety net for those at risk of losing their homes. They argue that the regulations are narrowly tailored, impacting landlords only in specific situations where vulnerable populations face imminent harm. City representatives highlight that while property rights are fundamental, they must be balanced with collective responsibilities. The city aims to demonstrate that the law represents a legitimate exercise of its regulatory authority, designed not to unduly infringe on landlords' rights, but to address pervasive and potentially devastating social issues. In any legal battle invoking constitutional claims, past precedents play a pivotal role. The landlords' challenge in Philadelphia is no exception, drawing lines between historical cases that interpret the extent of property rights and governmental authority. Central to their argument is the landmark case, Lochner v. New York, which highlighted the tension between state regulatory power and individual contractual freedom. However, for centuries, cases like Euclid v. Ambler Realty have tilted the balance in favor of state regulation, particularly when aimed at protecting public welfare. Euclid set the tone for upholding zoning laws that limit property rights when justified for broader public good. Furthermore, more recent judgments have favored city regulations that meet strict scrutiny standards, a test requiring the government to prove that legislation is enacted with a compelling interest and narrowly tailored to achieve its objectives. In Philadelphia's case, the critical question remains: can the city demonstrate these standards in defending its legislation? The defense points to past Supreme Court rulings upholding similar regulations during crises, emphasizing the government's role in shielding citizens from grave socioeconomic impacts, especially within housing markets. These constitutional precedents will heavily inform the court's decision, navigating between past judgments on private property rights and contemporary societal needs. Beyond the courtroom, the implications of Philadelphia's housing legislation resonate deeply throughout the community. Tenants, advocacy groups, and landlords each bring distinct perspectives to the debate. For tenants, these laws represent essential protection against the volatile housing market. Many renters express relief that their homes are safeguarded against sudden eviction, providing stability in uncertain times. Some share personal stories of facing intimidation or neglect, emphasizing the legislation's role in leveling the playing field. Tenant advocacy groups support the city's defense, asserting that strong legislative measures are needed to counterbalance chronic power imbalances in housing markets. On the other side, landlords and property owners voice concerns about financial viability and fairness. They argue that while tenant protection is important, it shouldn't come at the expense of property rights. Many landlords are small-scale investors who rely on rental properties for income. They argue that overregulation could deter investment, driving up housing costs and reducing affordability. These voices reveal the intricate dynamics at play, where economic interests and humanitarian concerns collide. As the case unfolds, the court's decision will echo across Philadelphia and beyond, impacting the narratives and livelihoods of countless individuals on both sides of this contentious issue. In the courtroom, the trial proceedings unfold with calculated intensity, drawing on testimonies, exhibits, and keen legal maneuvering from both sides. The landlords present a parade of expert witnesses, economists, legal scholars, and real estate professionals, all testifying to the potentially adverse effects of the legislation on property rights and market dynamics. Economic models and data projections are painstakingly analyzed, forecasting potential declines in investment if the laws diminish landlords' profitability. Their legal team presents historical analyses and constitutional interpretations, aiming to persuade the court of the broader implications for property law nationwide. Simultaneously, the city's defense lays its case with equal fervor, bringing forward advocates, housing experts, and affected tenants to the stand. Their testimonies encapsulate the harsh realities faced by renters, recounting stories of hardship and emphasizing the necessity of this legislation in providing a fair housing environment. The city's attorneys interweave legal precedents and empirical evidence, arguing the legislation's role as a pillar of support during economic crises. Each side crafts elaborate narratives, employing rhetorical skill and legal acumen. The trial becomes a battleground for constitutional theory, economic philosophy, and social justice, each element weighted by the courtroom's gravitas. As arguments culminate, anticipation builds for the judge's final decision. As the trial garners attention, public opinion, and media coverage amplify its significance, transforming a local dispute into a national focal point. Headlines dissect the intricacies of the case, echoing the constitutional debates in homes and public spaces across the country. Editorials from prominent newspapers weigh in, some aligning with the landlords, cautioning against perceived governmental overreach and potential adverse effects on private investments. Others champion tenant protections, highlighting the dire need for policies that address housing inequalities exacerbated by economic uncertainties. Social media platforms buzz with debate, users voicing varied perspectives rooted in personal interests and ideological beliefs. Hashtags capture the trial's themes, drawing support and criticism alike as communities engage in dynamic dialogues about property rights, economic justice, and community welfare. Meanwhile, interviews and op-eds feature first-hand accounts from those directly impacted by the legislation, providing human context to legal complexities. The heightened exposure underscores the broader societal implications of the trial's outcome, influencing public discourse on housing policy both regionally and nationally. The widespread reaction speaks volumes about the intersection of law, media, and public sentiment, where each voice contributes to the multifaceted tapestry of this ongoing legal and social narrative. Inside the cloistered jury room, deliberations over the Philadelphia housing case begin in earnest. 12 jurors, representing a microcosm of societal diversity, face the monumental task of navigating complex legal waters. Their discussions echo the multifaceted nature of the case as they weigh constitutional questions, economic theories, and moral considerations. The jury scrutinizes the evidence presented, their task to determine whether the housing legislation truly oversteps constitutional bounds. Each argument is dissected with precision, from legal precedents and economic implications to the potential societal benefits of tenant protections. Jurors wrestle with the nuances of property rights, balancing them against collective welfare and the state's obligations. They consider the testimonies from both sides, reflecting diverse perspectives within the room. Tensions may rise as jurors hold differing interpretations, each rooted in unique personal experiences and values. As hours turn to days, their deliberation becomes a testament to the democratic process, where consensus must be reached amid complexity. In these moments, the jurors' work is both practical and symbolic, a convergence of law, justice, and civic duty. Their final decision will not only resonate within the Philadelphia court, but echo across judicial corridors nationwide, shaping the discourse on housing law and constitutional rights. The courtroom falls silent as the judge delivers the verdict. After meticulous deliberation, the court finds in favor of the city, upholding the housing legislation. The ruling states that the regulations align with constitutional principles, emphasizing that the laws are within the state's police powers and are justified to promote public welfare. This decision acknowledges the compelling governmental interest in preventing widespread housing instability. By ruling in favor of tenant protections, the court reinforces the precedent that property rights, while fundamental, must occasionally yield to broader social imperatives. The case marks a significant victory for those advocating for robust tenant protections, potentially influencing similar legislation in other jurisdictions. For landlords, the outcome may complicate property management practices, necessitating adjustments and new strategies to comply with regulations. The verdict has already sparked debates within legal circles, heralding what could become a cornerstone in the ongoing evolution of property and constitutional law. This outcome serves as a reminder that the law continuously adapts, balancing individual rights with societal needs, a dynamic evolution reflecting ever-changing socio-economic landscapes. Thank you for joining Court Decoded. Stay engaged by subscribing to explore more pivotal legal cases. How do you feel about the balance between individual property rights and collective welfare? Share your thoughts in the comments. Like this story? Give us a thumbs up to support more in-depth legal narratives.